After back-to-back picks on the offensive side of the football, the Saints go back to the defensive side of the football, taking Jaylan Ford, a linebacker from Texas. Let's talk about the pick right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvoglu, and as always, we're brought to you by Scott Vicknair, Injury Lawyers, and Crystal. The Saints decide to use their final fifth-round pick on the defensive side, go with the linebacker Jaylan Ford of Texas, as I just mentioned. Interesting pick. I think linebacker is the one spot on this defense where I think there's talent and depth. I think there are parts outside of cornerback room, obviously, which is loaded, but there is the asterisk of getting rid of people. I think for linebacker, you have DeMario. Pete had a down year, but Pete Werner still is a player that the Saints have faith in, even though he did struggle in 2023. You added Willie Gay from the Chiefs in free agency. You also brought in Khaleke Hudson. So I think for them, for the Saints, you feel like there is depth there. Clearly, though, there's something about Jaylan Ford that they like. Maybe it's the fact that he's a pretty good run defender, one of the better ones in the Big 12 last season. It could be that he's a high character, high IQ type of football player. It could be the experience, 26 starts in just the last 2 seasons, which is pretty impressive. He's played a big role for Texas over the last 3 years, 200 plus tackles. So you know what you're going to get in that type of player. Zone coverage wise, I think that is where you're going to still see some big plays from him. Now, the thing I would say is the interceptions he's had at the college level. And again, interceptions obviously can vary. There are plays where I just don't think pro quarterbacks are going to make those throws. That's just the way I view it. Doesn't mean the Saints can't find a way for Jaylan Ford to see the field. And I think the way you start up is from special teams onward. I think that's how you have to make a roster like this, especially at a group that I mentioned has talent. So we'll see if Jaylan Ford can work his way up. But anything you hear about Jaylan Ford, the person, the leader on the football field, all seems to be positive, which is good news for New Orleans. And now it's a matter of trying to level them up. But what I would say for the Saints, and it's kind of similar to my view of the quarterback position, as long as DeMario Davis is in the building, I like the idea of adding young talent at the linebacker position and hoping they can kind of like soak up that knowledge that DeMario has, because he is one of the best linebackers of his generation. He's one of the best dudes you'll find ever. And if there's even a chance that one of these young guys that the Saints can draft, just like they took a couple of years ago in DeMarco Jackson, if one of those guys can hit their ceiling and grow and learn from a guy like DeMario, then it's worth it. It's kind of like a lottery ticket. You scratch it off. If you lose $2, you lose $2. If you hit, you get a couple thousand, you have absolutely take it. So we'll see what happens here. But Jaylan Ford going to the Saints. Saints still have 2 more picks left to make. We'll see how they kind of assess it. But to just cap off the 5th round, Spencer Rattler, they add Bub Means, the wide receiver from Pitt, and now they add Jaylan Ford, the linebacker from Texas. Let me know what you guys think about this most recent pick. Do you like the idea of adding another linebacker? Do you think the Saints should have gone elsewhere? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, stay tuned for more content here from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat